Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Raw Talk with Tanta Katie. I'm very happy you guys are here today. This is a very, very, very special episode, and it's something that means a lot to me because I have my very first guest with me. I've never had anybody else on the podcast with me before, and this is my very, very, very first guest. And she's one of the most incredible people I've ever met. And for those of you who are listening, you can be very thankful because she is somebody who's been through a lot in her life. She's a wealth of knowledge. You'd be very lucky and to even know her. I'm very lucky. I'm very happy that I get to know her. And her name is Richelle Heacock. We kind of grew up together playing sports. So she actually grew up in a small town of Ashford, Washington. And I grew up in Eatonville. But actually, the first time we've ever met each other, at least to my knowledge, was when we were Mayday princesses.
Oh my gosh, I forgot.
We were Mayday princesses. And that was actually the first official time I met her. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you guys to Richelle. I'm going to have her first. Hello, Richelle. How are you?
Hi, Katie. I'm doing well.
I'm
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much that you're here. Honestly, it's a huge honor. Really, I feel very grateful.
Well, I hope I can live up to your amazing introduction now. So
Yeah, way more, girl. You're infinity and beyond. You're way more than my introduction. Would you like to tell the people a little bit about
I
yourself?
would love to. So yeah, like Katie said, we grew up together and we played basketball together. And Katie was just always just a light to be around. I loved just our time together. And after high school, I went on to play volleyball in college. And then when I was 20, I had a car accident that paralyzed me from the chest down, and it completely changed my life. But yeah, it definitely took it on a different road. But I think God always has a plan, no matter what things look like or how it feels like just the world's closing in on you. And yeah, so here we are. I've started doing some music a little bit, and yeah, really thankful for not all the hard times, that as far as, going through them, but I'm thankful for what it produced in my life. So, yeah.
And do you want to tell them where they can find you on your social medias?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel, just my first and last name, Richelle Heacock. And I'm sometimes on social media when it doesn't get to be too much of a crazy place to be. So, yeah.
And for those of you guys listening, I really do hope that you are really taking in every word that she is saying, because she is a wealth of knowledge. She's honestly an incredible person. She's been through a lot, and she's very inspirational. She's very incredible. She really is. And I do believe that everything she says, you'll be able to really learn from. And also go follow her on her social medias on YouTube. She started her singing career, and she's a very, very good singer. That's also something she's very passionate about. And for all of you guys, you should definitely go check it out. So we have a very fun topic today. I have a little list of the things that I'm going through, the things that I write down of what we want to do, and it is do the best with the cards that you have. Make the most of them. And would you like to start off about your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think I'm a real big proponent of, I think what you focus on can really magnify, and what you really give your attention to. And in my life, that's been sometimes really difficult, because sometimes it seems like the bad or the difficult things can outweigh or kind of just overshadow um, the good or what you just kind of seem to really see in your life. But I think when you can kind of go the extra mile of really trying to be grateful for whatever is in your life, that, I mean, because I think we all have things to be grateful for. I think we all have things in our lives that we wish were different, or we had, a different cards that were dealt. But yeah, I think really being intentional with what we choose to give our attention to and what we choose to even like speak out is really huge.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that as well. Rochelle and I were talking about the power of gratitude, and some of the most grateful people that her and I have met have been people who maybe you'd look at what they had and you would think, how can they be happy? How can they be grateful? But these people are the most intelligent people in the world, and they're happier. They're happier because they're focusing on the things that they have around them, which are actually a lot. And I was telling Rochelle a story earlier, which was that for Christmas, back in the day, my dad would give us a calendar and a DVD tape and a little cassette tape. And we were so happy with this. We were so happy with a calendar and a DVD. And it could have been that our friends were getting more, we don't know, but we were happy. The problem came when we started getting more and more gifts. And then we sort of learned to be almost less grateful. And I think that's also a really important thing is whatever you do have, really hold on to it, appreciate it, and enjoy your life because we're all here. We don't know how long we're here for, but we have a lot to be grateful for no matter what it is.
Yeah. And I think the longer we maybe our lives go on a certain journey or a certain path, like, like I thought my whole life was going to revolve around sports, which sounds so crazy now, but you can kind of, I think, put expectations on yourself, which in a way I think can be good. But I think also then when you start to expect things, that expectation can sometimes take away the gratitude that we really need to live with, because I think like anything can be taken away in a moment's notice. And when it's taken away, then you're like, oh man, like that was really special. Like I really wish that I was grateful for that when I had it, like even like my grandma, we lost her in January, and she was amazing. And she really, really brought our whole family, changed the whole trajectory of our family just, by her faith in God and the example that she set. And in her last days, she really had not a whole lot that from the outside that you would really see like, wow, like her life is great. But, my mom would come in and give her a hot washcloth in the morning, and we had a hummingbird feeder outside her window, and she'd just sit there and she's like, oh man, like I don't think heaven could get much better than this. And you're like, really? Like those are the things that you're thankful for. And I think sometimes like I've gotten really frustrated of like when someone's told me to be thankful, I feel like, well, I'm like begging for like, just these tiny little like crumbs. But like when you really focus on, what you are given, I think it really shifts your perspective and really can kind of open up different doors that you either weren't aware of or weren't presenting themselves, when you were just expecting X, Y, and Z in your life.
Yes, I definitely find that true as well. And I also did a episode. It was called "Feed the Good Wolf," which was also kind of similar. It's like I feel like we do have inside of us. There's that ancient story of good wolf, bad wolf, and I was saying I had times in my life where the bad wolf was so big because I kept feeding it, all my, negativity, but the good wolf was suffering because I was focusing on bad things. But there is a lot to be grateful for. I really believe that. If we think of like people that are sitting around a table And if you're looking at the cards that God gave you, what are you going to do with the cards in your life? There's that famous video where it's on YouTube and there's about 20 kids in a row, and there's a coach at the front, and he says, take 10 steps forward if both of your parents are still together. Take 20 steps forward if you went to a private school, and then take 30 steps forward if you never had to go hungry, and then take 40 steps forward if your parents don't live in a car. And when you saw it, you would see kids at different points in the field. Some were a little bit further. Maybe their parents could offer them a little bit more. And then some of the kids were further back. Maybe they didn't have as much starting off. So each person is being dealt a different set of cards. And, I really like to think of it as, what are you going to do? And it's just like Richelle was saying, if the people at the back of this line that you're imagining are focusing on, oh, well, they have this, and, they don't have to go to bed hungry, and this, that, and the third. If they're focusing their energy on that, it's going to be harder for them to get forward. And then the people that are already at the very front, it's the same situation for them too. So it's really about, how are you going to get to where you want to get to in life with what you have? And you'd be surprised that it can happen with the people in life. Sometimes the ones that start out with the least end up going the furthest. And one of the reasons for that can also be because sometimes the hardships made them stronger. They can learn things like how to be more resourceful. They learn different things that maybe the other people didn't do, but that's not to say that the people at the front are bad or anything like that. They also have a really good card, and they can do cards, and they can do a lot with that.
That's so true. Yeah, I think that it kind of even goes back, like, you and I had like a sports background together, and I think we can both, see people that like naturally were just amazing and phenomenal, and like everything seemed to come easy to them. And then there's also the other kids that like maybe weren't as gifted that way, but then like by the time you work through high school, sometimes those kids that seemed like they had everything going for them, and they're super athletic, they can jump high or whatever, sometimes like not everyone, but I think sometimes like their work ethic might not match that one that was really like just busting their butt like at every turn. And it's kind of like, they're in a race, and like they thought they were so far ahead, the person that had everything. And then by the time they get close, like they look behind them and they're like, oh, wait, that other person that I thought was like way back there, they've been really putting in the work. And, then they end up passing the one that just had everything just kind of naturally at their disposal.
That is great. That is an amazing way to look at it. I didn't even think of that. That was really good. Yes, it is honestly really true. And there is that phrase. I don't like this phrase very much, which is fake it till you make it. And then I heard another phrase, which is fake it till you become it, which is a little bit better, but not much better. However, I didn't believe that phrase until I was working at a law firm, and I was working with people who were very prestigious and this, that, and the third. And then I just started almost faking it till I became it almost. Not that I was becoming a bad person or anything, not that they are bad people, but I was faking it until I finally learned that we're all equal. So regardless of your background, regardless of anything you have going on in your life, you are equal to everybody, and everybody's equal to you. Nobody's better than you. Nobody's worse than you. And it is very important to treat people equally regardless. You should always be treating people equally, even if they're billionaires. Even if they're people who are maybe on the side of the street, don't pass your judgment towards those people. You're not better than them. You're not. You could be just like that person, and you should start being grateful for the things that you do have always, and give where you can as well.
Yeah. And I think maybe even like part of like our dislike for like fake it till you make it or fake it till you become it is I think like it kind of gives like this perception of like some people just know what they're doing. And I don't think anybody does. Like, I think everybody's just trying to figure it out. And some people might look like they, have it all together or they know what they're doing, but they've just kind of trial and errored it until it worked out for them and they figured it out or whatever. And I think everybody, like, I think you can learn something from everyone, no matter who it is. And sometimes it might just be like, I don't want to live my life that way, or whatever. But I really do think that, you can learn from everybody and nobody has it all together.
Nobody does. Nobody does, honestly. And I didn't know that, guys. I genuinely thought that there were people out there that knew what they were doing until I learned just recently, genuinely just recently, that nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody is just trying their best. I like to believe most people are trying their best. I think 95%. I think there's 5% that maybe they're not, but that's okay. That's okay. They don't have
grace. It's okay.
Yes, exactly. We'll give them grace. And we're just all trying the best, We're just seeing where life takes us. It is about that trial and error, like you were saying.
Yeah, and I think like our lives can take so many different directions. And for me personally, like I don't think like a lot of those really hard, horrible things, whether it's like sickness or, I don't think God necessarily causes those, but I think that all of these broken pieces that can end up in our lives, whether it's, a bad decision or something we really wish hadn't happened. Like, I mean, like my accident, I would have never volunteered for that, no matter, if I'm completely honest, like no matter how much good could have come from that in the first place. But I think being okay with what direction your life goes and how it unravels, I think that is kind of sometimes how God does put really good things in your life, or just puts you on a certain path that you wouldn't necessarily have been on before if those horrible things hadn't have happened in your life.
Yes. 100%. And for anybody out there listening who does feel like you're defined by some of the things you have been through, some of the hardships, if it feels like dead, if you feel anchored down by it, it's okay to feel like that sometimes. It is okay. But just remember that it does not define you as a person. It doesn't. You are more than the bad things that did happen to you in your life, much more than that. And I knew a person once who did think that they were very broken. And I told them, you have to think of yourself as, in Japan, I believe it's either Japanese or Chinese, they have those broken vases where they fall down on the ground. And then what they do in Japan is they actually pick up every single piece that's been broken and they put it together with gold. And it's all together again.
So good.
And so you may not be how you want to be, but the broken pieces sometimes, well, the majority of the time, make you beautiful. They make you who you are, and who you are is very beautiful. It's true.
Yeah. I remember I heard an analogy of like kind of like baking a cake. Like you put, flour and sugar and eggs and all this stuff in there, but then like you also put salt and you put vinegar in it, and you're like, those ingredients do not taste good. Like, why would you ever put them in a cake? But then when it is all baked together and, you put the time into it and everything, it's like, no, those ingredients were actually like really important to that cake, even though you don't actually taste those specific ingredients. And I think that's sometimes how like the adversities that we go through in our lives, like they're not just for us, it's going to be for other people that we, you know, get in contact with, or, that it's going to help them at a certain time too. But I think that's really how our lives are. Like, it doesn't always, not every ingredient is going to be pleasant, but when it's all said and done, like it's going to be beautiful.
So you said something really good in the last sentence that you were saying, which is sometimes we go through adversities in our lives, not just for us, but for other people. And what I can say, and this is 100% true, um, you went through a lot during your accident and everything. And I know that it completely impacted my life as well, to where when I see, somebody in a wheelchair, I definitely have more empathy for that person than I did before. I obviously didn't see every single thing that you had gone through, and I will never 100% know everything or be able to feel everything, but I know it was not easy for a fact. And I know it definitely had a huge impact, not only on my life, but many, thousands, maybe even millions of lives.
Yeah, and you know what? I remember like specifically, my whole identity was wrapped up in being an athlete before all of this. Like, if you asked me who I was, I would have said like I'm a volleyball player or, a basketball player. And I remember when I was in the hospital, like I had to go out like on like outings or whatever before you get released. And I remember like I so did not want to even leave my room because I didn't want people to see me in a wheelchair. And so like just even like you have to get comfortable with that if you're going to live life, And so but it's definitely like you're seen completely different. Like people stare, and when I've gone out to restaurants or whatever, people have been like, "Oh, does she want, this or that?" And I'm like, I can speak for myself, and I can start to like judge those people and get really kind of irritated at that. But then I also think like, before my accident, I never thought twice about the person that was like sitting on the sidelines at the volleyball game or whatever. And now I am that person. And so I think like, life can look so different at any point in your life, but to really just not have that as your identity kind of, I think we touched on that a little bit before, but yeah, just kind of knowing like life can change in an instant. And, it's not my job to judge someone, even if it's, inconveniencing my day and I feel like I'm getting stared at. I just kind of have to remember like they probably haven't gone through, what I've had to, they might not have a family member that's been sick or it's been an accident or, had a stroke or, whatever it is. But life looks different for everybody and it can look different from one day to the next. But I think the only thing that happens when I get really judgmental and irritated at other people is it just affects me. It doesn't affect them. Like, they're going to go about their day no matter what. And they probably have no idea, that the girl in the wheelchair that they passed at the mall that they were staring at is like seething at home because she feels like a freak. But, if I can just forgive that and just like move on, I'm going to be better for it anyways. And just recognizing that people are all in different places in their lives at all different times. And we just happen to be living life simultaneously in proximity with each other. And we are all connected. And yeah, so just having grace for other people, no matter what phase of life they're in, I guess.
Yes. I also believe we are definitely all connected. And also, one thing Richelle said, which I believe as well, is life can change in a complete instant. It can change in a complete instant. So maybe you're walking down a busy street in Seattle and you're seeing a homeless person on the side of the street and you're feeling judgmental towards that person. but you don't know that that could be you. Things happen to people, things happen every day. And that's why it would be a good thing to practice the gratitude that Richelle and I were talking about, is just appreciate what you have, because things can change really in a complete instant, and try not to be judgmental towards other people because you don't know what they're going through. And it really is true, that little meme, which is everybody is fighting a battle you know nothing about. And it can be a person that, you wouldn't think. It would be a person you would have no idea, but still be kind to them, even if, which I know it's hard. I know it's hard, but even a person, if they're really, really, really mean, those are sometimes the people that need it the most.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I've actually started doing, and I didn't believe it for a long time, which is pray for your enemies. This is one thing I've started to do, and I did it the other day. And actually, what happened was I started feeling good inside. This can be one of the most difficult things to do. It is not easy. You can have such a strong dislike or distaste for a person to where every fiber in your body just wishes them not good things. And it does take a lot to wish that person well, because at the end of the day, we do need to remember we are all connected. And Rochelle and I had been talking about a story we'd both heard. I believe it was on Netflix. I might be butchering this story a little bit, but I'll kind of try and do the rundown, which is there had been a mother. This was somewhere in the Midwest, and her son had been murdered. And instead of wishing this person that murdered her son, all the worst things, the death penalty, every day in jail, thinking about the mistakes that he had made, she had started praying for him. But not only praying for him, she had also started regular phone calls with him every day, visitations with him, and he had ended up completely turning his life around. And it is pretty magical in life what can happen when you do have one person in your life that does believe in you. This person that had murdered her son probably did not have the best cards dealt to him when he was growing up. He was most likely in a very abusive household. We don't know, but maybe, very bad things were happening to him. And this lady had given him almost another opportunity at life. Maybe, his card was just, I don't know much about cards, guys, I'm not going to lie, but I'm guessing he just had maybe like fives in there or something. And maybe she had had a full deck, and she had helped give her full deck to him to kind of make his life a little bit better. And that is a nice thing. Try and believe in somebody. And for the people that you have around you that do believe in you, don't take them for granted. Even if it is your 90-year-old aunt and she's all you have, but she believes in you, take that belief and run with it, because that's a very special thing, and you can go far with that.
Yeah, and I think that was so well said, Katie. And on that same topic, I've been reading the book, I always get it wrong, The War of Art. And it talks so much about resistance and how it really, is kind of like this energy or this force that sometimes like tries to keep you from those things that you really feel passionate about. Like you maybe feel like you want to start a podcast, or you want to write a book, or you want to do whatever it is that seems like out of the box. And it talks about how, like, all of these different ways that can come at you, but how you can actually kind of use that of like whatever's scaring you the most and feeling like it's like attacking that purpose that you think you have, like you can kind of almost use that as like a needle on a compass of like that's really where you need to go. And yeah, and so Katie, I'm so proud of you for doing this, and I think a lot of people need to hear the words that you have and the wisdom that you've gained through all sorts of things. And so yeah, whoever's listening to this, so if you have that thing that's scaring you, it's probably the thing that God actually has for you. So
I think of it like that game where it's like hot, hot, cold. And you know where they're like, you're getting warmer, you're getting warmer, you're getting warmer. It's like the warmer you're getting to the thing that's for you, the more resistance is that's going to come your way. And the more resilience you're going to have to get to build to get there. And you got to have, strength. You got to just hang on in there just a little bit and know that you're going to get to it. And yes, this is such a pleasure. I enjoyed this so much, Richelle, honestly. And, you've definitely been somebody who has resilience. Resilience. What would you say are like your biggest words of wisdom?
I think definitely just like practically, like first of all, like don't be afraid to ask for help, because I think there's a lot of people out there that are going to be more willing and eager to help you than you realize. And you're not alone. Like, there's been many times that I've felt alone, but God is with you, and you have people in your life hopefully that really support you. Yeah.
To second what Richelle said about asking for help, I remember I had asked one of my bosses what she would have told her younger self 30 years ago, and she said, I would have told myself to ask for help. Asking for help is the biggest strength of anybody. And I think we do all need to remember we are connected. We all are one. We're more alike than we know. We feel the same feelings. We go through so many of the same emotions. And I heard something once, which is whatever emotion you are going through, no matter how big, no matter how small, just remember you're not the first person to feel that emotion. Even though sometimes those emotions can feel so overwhelming, like waves just taking over your whole body. It's okay to feel like that. Try to comfort yourself in those moments, but know that you're not alone and you're not the first person to feel that way. And it's okay to feel like that. And so I think we're going to wrap everything up here. Richelle, thank you from the bottom of my heart for your time. Thank you for being my very first official guest on the podcast. Thank you. It's been a real honor. I admire you more than you're ever going to know. I think you're a little angel sent from heaven. Yes. You're a little angel. You are an incredible person. You're continuing to do so much to touch so many lives. You have a light inside of you that's just shining on the world. And I cannot wait to see what happens with your music career and whatever else you want in life. And I wish you only good things.
Well, thank you, Katie. I'll just continue on the Mutual Admiration Club, Katie, because I am just so proud of you for stepping out and doing this. And like I said, I think there's a lot of people that need to hear this, and I'm just excited to see where this takes you. So thank you so much.
Thank you as well. I wish all of you guys a really nice day, and until next time, bye.